Right, I'm just going to start looking at other feature. I'm just going to record everything that I do. Um, this is the repository that you should all have access to. You can see the branches here. If you want to make some pull requests, you can just make a new pull request, and when you're ready, this is the wrong repository. Give me a second. School management system, there it is. Same idea. A couple of remote features. I might delete these because some of these have already been merged. But the idea is when you push your remote repository, your remote branch, your local branch to remote, you can just create a pull request back to main, and then we'll do that at the end. But I'm going to start a new feature. So right now, what am I? I'm probably on main still. Yeah, I'm on main. Before I start any change, just do a git pull just to make sure no one's committed code before you. If you want to just fetch to see if there's any changes without pulling, you can do git fetch, but git pull does both. Always a good thing to do before you start any changes. So now I've got the latest copy of main. I'll create a new branch. What am I going to do? I think I'm going to do something to do with the students dashboard. So let's have a look at that. So I've created a feature branch. Now I'm not actually checked out, so don't forget to check it out. I'll just usually copy this. So now I'm on the right branch. So I like to be in a fresh branch before I start work, so it's isolated from anyone else. All right, cool. So then I've got the code base of the app opened up in VS Code. There's a lot going on, a lot of entities, a lot of models. Again, I don't know much about this. It's just all AI generated. I've been dumping notes into the docs folder that I've been keeping a note on. The main one is the MD file I created. This was basically their PowerPoint presentation. I extracted all the text from that and that video that first week, got all the modules from that PowerPoint out so that I could then come up with a plan on what we can do. Had AI make a big complicated implementation plan and how we could split it out and how it was going to work, but that was a little bit over the top, but it got me sort of started. This was basically straight from their slides, so this is kind of like the source of truth in my mind of the modules that they were talking about, because this is what they were: class and schedules. They wanted like QR code or something. Everything that they said is in this file here. If you just want to remind yourself of the things that they said that they wanted, um, that's in here, and I often go back to it just to remind myself from their words what they wanted. Um, one of the key ones was like a single system is role-based authentication. Yeah, this one QR code. Yeah, QR code won't work because that's just a link to a web browser. It's not going to enforce anything. But RFID potentially could work for attendance, but that's not something we can implement, at least not physically. But you could have a system that could. But yeah, I'll probably leave to the end. Anyway, um, database migration guides if we ever move to a proper database. But right now, the entire database is a single file. It's called SQLite. Where is it? SQLite. Yeah, that guy. You can't see it obviously, but it's in there, in the database directory. Just if you're not familiar with this code base, sort of got a whole bunch of PHP files, and then it's got a React front end on it as well. So anytime you see TSX, that's kind of like the React UI files. Anytime you're seeing a PHP, it's more like the server models, entities, um, as I understand it. But these are the login pages, the register, the forgot password, standard React sort of format using TypeScript export functions. Honestly, I'm not too familiar with React. I spend more time in Angular than I do in React at work. So, but React is obviously the biggest front-end framework. So you guys probably know it more than I do, to be honest. But anyway, enough rambling. I personally do my changes with Codex. Now, a lot of the changes I do when I'm at work is through the Claude code, but it's the same idea. You can integrate AI into your IDE directly like this, or through a direct chat. Highly recommended if you have access to an AI tool. Obviously, it's a paid service. If you don't have access to AI, you can access it through standard ChatGPT with pasting the code base. I've done this before. Before I had subscriptions to AI, I would just zip up the entire code base and just paste it in ChatGPT and be like, I want to do this. Here's my entire code base. And it was actually pretty good. So it's definitely a good option if you don't have um, Claude Code or Codex to work on. Anyway, so I'm going to look at something to do with students. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just run the program again. Now in the docs folder, I have this little text file, most important commands, because I always forget the commands. So I just have to navigate to there. So open up a command prompt. And then I update my database. So the way the database works is it has these seed files that auto-populate the database with data. That is sort of programmatic, and then that just rebuilds the database for you. You can do that every now and then. Certainly if you're making changes to the schema, you want to update the schema and then update the seed so that it's refreshed. So you're just going to reset the database contents. So we're really just wiping and recreating everything. So it's just sort of a full migration got done. Created all the tables, filled them up with stuff. There's a whole point in the code base where we're dealing with seeding of data, creating users, creating schools, and that kind of stuff. The other one is the Composer install. Composer is a tool you have to download. I don't know if you've seen my Word documents, but I had some documents uploaded in the early weeks just explaining how I set up Laravel, some of the issues I had. I just sort of screenshotted the hell out of it when I was installing it, just as I was going until I got it running. Because I've never touched Laravel, never touched PHP. That was just completely new to me, and barely touched React. So a lot of things are new for me anyway. So this is the back end. So I'll serve the back end. I'll go back to here actually. Oh, he's still running. Hold on, do it on another window. This actually runs the back end. It's going to be running on a port number 8000, but it's not going to work without the front end. So in a separate command prompt, you can do an install on the app. Keeps rewriting to my other system I've been working on. So I changed my default directory. But anyway, I've already done an install recently, so I'm not going to do another one. But run that one and just run dev, and then you should have React running as well. So when you do this, you should have the entire application running. So if I now go to localhost 8000, you should have access to this app straight away running in your computer. This is the current code base. Now the main screens we've got dark mode, sure. I probably won't have the create account button. I'm thinking that's pretty silly for a student to be able to make an account. They'll probably get invited through a link one day. But anyway, I've done a homepage, kind of a landing page. I mean, I haven't, AI's done it. Login screen. This is the logo. It's officially from their documentation. Not exactly official in the sense that their official documentation, if you have a look at it, it's a Word document with their logo, where they're very careful, like to the micromillimeter measurements and everything, all this perfectionist stuff, but then they don't actually give you the SVG to use, so just had to make one. Anyway, that was a bit of fun. So I'll just log in. This particular test account is in the code base. It's, what was the password? Let me just find it. Test at example. This is what I mean about the seeds. So he's a system administrator. Oh yeah, system administrator password 123, of course. Yeah, that's a bit weird. Did I not upload it? I just changed it recently, so maybe it's not happy with that. It used to be this guy or password. None of them. Interesting. That's a bit unusual. Let me just check. Speeder definitely ran. Yep. Example. Pass 1, 2, 3. Super admin. That's strange. I might just try the reset button. Honestly, it's a bit strange. I'm not even sure what it does. No way. Never tried this one before, but whatever. Test at example.com. Change that to be a better email. Okay, whatever. Have a link to a mail server. It's not going to go anywhere. Let's ask AI, honestly. See what comes up with. Well, I'm trying to remember what I'm forgetting. Okay, I'm just going to reseed it. I don't know why. Shouldn't have to. Okay. That is weird. I've seen this before. Oh, essay pass. Is it really? Idiot. Anyway, thank God for AI. All right, so where are we up to? Yes, students as a dashboard. Okay, so right now this is managing everything. So that's not really going to help. I need to log in as a student. Now if I log in as, got some test students. Demo theta, who's a student. Student name, Jawan. Okay. So there's a student example you can do. Password. Okay. Yeah, because it's password. This is the prototype of the student screen. So if you log in as a student, you're going to get the role-based app is going to render itself based on that role and decide to show you things that only a student could see. Now, what have I got in here? I haven't even looked at this for a while. I've got my record. Okay, very much mock data. And then their dashboard. So I guess they want to have some place to, what would a student need to see? Their timetable, probably their enrollments. Let's see what they wanted us to do. Where's it gone? Okay, key functionalities. Conflict detection of the student. Goodness me, what is that? Entities, obviously, is an entity. Bulk student import. Yeah, that's going to be the data ingestion section. Who's the target user? Sure. Faculty evaluation by a student. Yeah, okay. Track student, that's more management. Okay, they don't really talk about what the student needs to do, I guess. I guess it's just up to us then. Student admissions and enrollment, so admission forms. So yeah, a student's going to have to be able to submit an admission form. And I think I saw that in the admin view. Um, admissions. I think this is where people, new applications for a school, who wants to enroll. I think this is more of a management side. So I'm trying to think, how does a normal school would have to do in admissions? I think the student would apply. This should be automatic. This is all mock stuff. That's the problem. It's kind of just distracting me. Captures the applicants, reviews the admission status, and approves them into the permanent student records into that faculty, I'm guessing, or program. So if I'm in this school, yeah, this is all a bit too abstract. I would think a student would need to be able to enroll in classes. I'm just going to ask Codex to do it. Logged in to student view. What am I doing? So like admissions process is one thing, but when in and accepted into our program, like let's even talk about reviewing applications. I think it needs some work around how the enrollment works for a student. It can select program, requesting admission, whatever. That might be a requesting admission process. And when admitted into a program, that's IT, I'm guessing. Other one as well is this school is for like all school structures. So some obviously I'm thinking schools and then unis, whereas schools would just have the curriculum. I would imagine that that school would then have to disseminate to the faculties who would then have to implement some program off that curriculum. So I'm not really sure how to share this out. I might actually ask. Not really sure how high school works in the Philippines, but it's going to make the system work for anyone. So if you manage a school that is a university, then they can do programs and courses and then they can be enrolled in. Where if it's at high school, they just manage a curriculum. System should cater for everything. Bit of a mess. It's kind of like trying to get a picture in my head how this is supposed to work. Notice here that it knows what branch I'm on, everything. So yeah, I highly recommend Claude Code or Codex, or there are other ones, but they're the main two. What, Gemini? I don't know. Honestly, this is literally all it is. You're just asking for what you want and just hammering AI. And I think imagining what would be a good solution and just telling AI to do it. That's all I've been doing. I'm just like, make me a school system. How would admissions work? How would enrollment work? How could we share it amongst schools and stuff? That's how I got the idea of adding schools to a master system. Probably need to type ahead here because this is going to be impossible to manage before long. Had to do that with students. What? Really? Oh, might be a bug. Maybe it can't handle space. No, it can't. Okay. That's a bug. I can fix that one. Okay, what's he done? Admissions and enrollment should be a separate flow. Right now, the app has data pieces, but the workflow is too thin. Student requests admissions to a school and then a program. Student create link once admissions approved. Programs, curriculums. It's all a bit of a mess. Admission gets the student into a program. Enrollment gets the student into this term and subjects and classes. Yeah. Admissions what's a high school you need model at the school level if it is declared what it runs: elementary, junior, senior, college. Okay. I'm just going to be like, so that's one system support. Grade 12 students are placed into selection and Bachelor of IT. Okay. I don't know what he's telling me. Does he want to just do that? That sounds good. Continue, honestly. I don't think he's really done anything. So let's see it do some changes, honestly. Student facing program enrollment section in my record. Oh, because you're not a student, of course. Student example. Go away. So I don't like the password. Chrome complains if the password is password. Yeah, so it looks like the My Record is supposed to contain everything. Your current enrollment and all of like it's almost like a dashboard, but mainly for your enrollment. Maybe it shows you like your GPA or whatever. Oh no, that'll be here. Oh, whatever. I don't know, man. I'll just do a quick change and I'll commit it and then push it up because I think at the end of the day, what I'm doing doesn't really matter and I'm wasting your time otherwise. So I'll just quickly do a change. Let's have a look what it did. I don't know if I have to do a reseed, but I'm just going to do it anyway. No harm in that. Restart my back end just to be sure. Where's my front end? Here he is. Just restart him to be sure. I don't have to necessarily always do that, but big change like that, I just want to be safe. I'm logging in as a student, aren't I? So, see what he sees. Go away. Oh yeah, I'm seeing some curriculum stuff here now. It's the same though. Program enrollment bar. Fuck, I don't know. Dear. I have to figure out what he did. Let me check. What changed? My record now sends enrollment planning with the program curriculum. I honestly don't know what it did. I mean, it's all mock data, so how do I even enroll and stuff? I don't know. Whatever. I'm just going to commit it anyway. It's not causing any harm. Shouldn't affect anyone. Oh, get add everything. So if you get to add everything, that way they're staged. You see them all go green. And then commit with a message. I don't even know what I'm going to call this message. Enrollment path. I'll have a look what it actually did at some point, but whatever. Enroll. I don't know what to. Yes, to. All right, now this is what I'm saying. If you git push, it's going to give you the warning. Oh, I don't know the remote origin. That's fine. You just copy this, and then it creates that branch in the remote GitHub. And then you can go there. And it's suggesting that you might want to make a pull request. So yeah, something. Give it a decent message if you want. Create the pull request into main, and then you can have a look at the open pull request. And right now there's now one. So I'm not going to merge it just yet. I want to go back. There it is, student-facing enrollment. And this is where I could be like, yeah, this is great. What you would normally do, you'd comment on it. You'd have a look at the changes, and there you want to add a comment like, what is this here? Fix that. That's sort of the process. You know, you put a code review on there, read things again, and go, oh, this is a bit suspect. You know, I'm not doing any of that because, you know, it's kind of just the process you would do normally in a more professional way, but I don't really care at this point. You know, I don't really have to check anything because I've got no pipeline or anything, so these pipelines are not going to do anything. Yeah, I'm not going to comment. Go back to it. And I guess I could just merge it. But see, as soon as I merge this in, I know that if I touched a file, to ignore these errors, I haven't set them up. It's irrelevant to me. Other people potentially who are touching the same file will now get a conflict on those particular files. So that's the process of the cycle. So, but I do think with this many people, we're going to have to coordinate our merge requests a bit more carefully. Make sure you're fetching from main before you start, or else you'll be starting from the wrong point. And then it'll have conflicts later, or it'll be just messier when you try and update from whatever's in main. Now, if you wanted to keep it locally for a while, I do recommend committing locally regularly and often. So like when I just committed and then pushed straight away, normally I do a bunch of commits locally, like work in progress commits, just as a safety net as you're progressing on a feature until you're done with it, then you'll push it, just as a habit. So yeah, commit early, commit often. It's sort of the mantra. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And it's just a matter of us just not stepping on each other's toes and trying to guess what it is that they want. I'll stop this. This is going to be a boring video, but anyway, like it's something. have a look at those Word documents as well. If you haven't set up Laravel, haven't set up anything, this is the first time you've seen the code base. I did share where was it? Did I put in the documents? I didn't. It's not in the code base. Notes. These guys, I might actually stick them in a directory of docs in the school management system, just so that it's accessible everywhere. This was just a literal document of screenshots and things that I discovered, literally from scratch. Install PHP. You click this button, zip. You add the PHP to your path variable of Windows so that you can type PHP-V and you can see the version. You install Composer so you can do Composer installs later. And all the commands I ran, I was just like, as I ran a command, I took a screenshot of it, and then I could check. Then I was like, yeah, Composer global require Laravel /installer. That then installed Composer, and I could check if Laravel worked. Had some issues with the PHP ini file. You had to like uncomment certain things out, like the extension zip. You'll see that in your computer when you install it. So if you have any issues, yeah, this Laravel learnings document, highly recommend reading it if you've never set it up before. Just a couple of issues that I encountered as I was going. Eventually, when I first started, didn't have had issues initially, but had to generate a key, I think. It's a bit weird. I had to set up an env file. So it's an env example. You have to make an env for yourself. And I'm pretty sure you had to generate a key for yourself, and that was it. That was a command further up to do that. Yeah. And Node, of course, with the front end. So Node is the front end server that you need that for running the ng serve commands or start dev or whatever I had. And that was it really, front end and back end. So I'll put that in the code base just so it's just there. I want to commit the $sign version. Don't want to add everything, then I'll just add these manually. Oh, quotes. Git add. It's painful when you have to do it this way. Yes, you can use your IDE to do it for you, but it's a bit old school sometimes. Add the Laravel docs. Git push. Actually, what branch am I on? Before I do that. Yeah, I'm still in the old branch. I don't want to do that. Git checkout main. Hold on. Okay, because the file's still open. Go away. There we go. Git fetch. Yeah, if I do a fetch, you should see that I'm behind main by 1 commit. A local copy is behind. So I'm just going to do a git pull. There you go. So I'm up to date again. It's because I committed to main remote. I had to pull that locally. So now I'm on the, is what I mean. You've got to remember to keep your local main up to date with the remote main before you start work. I almost did that mistake myself. So I'll create a feature, add documentations. Oh, git branch. Feature, add dockers. And I'll check it out. And I will commit those 2 files. Oh, actually, it's just one, isn't it? I'm a bit confused now. I added 2. Setting up Laravel learnings. Where's Laravel learnings gone? Oh, did I delete the file? What the hell? Oh. whatever. I'll just get it again. See them both now. That's better. And here they are. Staged, ready for commit. This is where it's going to ask me, what is this branch? Here we go. Same thing as always. Now it's in remote. Open the link. And create a pull request to go back to main. Short and sweet. I'm just going to merge it without code reviews. Guess it's just so simple right now. Yeah, main's upset again. Right, I'll stop it here. Have a good evening.